The thing that really fired me up, this was in the 50s, was CND. We went on these marches, 4-day marches, from Aldermaston to London, right? Sleeping on the floor, on school floors and stuff like this, community halls. And we were off the leash. There was thousands of kids marching through the countryside in the rain usually. And it became a cultural thing as well, you know. And there was trad jazz, which was the exciting thing then, and I think probably skiffle. So there were kind of lots of music up and down the line. People had guitars and so on, and it was culturally important as well. And also the friendships and everything being made out of, which grown-ups had very little to do with.
I suppose the first one I went to was like the Iraq one, 2003 with my mum. Kind of went to a few more after that. Then G20 in 2009 when I was 19, I think. Yeah, that was 2009, yeah. Then that was really it. That was like, got the ball rolling. Then I went to university. Then the Tories came in. I got to Goldsmiths. It's very left-wing. It's very activist. So then it's like just sped up.
The next thing I started with political education was I went to South America. I was out there for 2 years. And that was extraordinary, and because we got very, very involved in a lot of very rebellious people and again, it was part as much cultural as political. And then it came back to England in the sort of mid to late 60s, and everything was happening here by then. There was the whole hippie culture, the influence of the American beatnik poetry and stuff, drugs. Then not very long after that, the beginnings of student militancy. I think the underground, the hippie movement, was a big questioning of the values of the society, of the values of the older generation. It was in many ways a very, very rebellious thing, although it sort of asserted its own culture and rock and roll, etc. At the same time, it had a huge critical element.
The Greeks now, they're brilliant, and they're really fighting, and you kind of, and they're all young as well, and they're proper going for it. And 33% of the population there now wants a revolution, whether it be socialist, anarchist, doesn't matter. They're young people and they're mobilising, and it's positive. And you know what? The students in this country, which I feel really proud of, because we're all a part of it, was we actually mobilised. The strikes and stuff, we gave older people the confidence to go out there and say, no, I'm not taking this. And it's brilliant.
When it's happening all over the place, then change really begins to feel possible. Yeah. The next strand was the personal stuff, and especially women's liberation. The women's movement was just hugely important. And then how you lived your life, the family, etc. People experimented in communes to try out changes, to see if there's a different way you could do it.
Occupy was always a very kind of hippie movement, but I think it was still positive. I went there on the first day, and I got stopped by the police there actually, and they were so demeaning they took all my details, and they were just kind of laughing at me, and and it was really demeaning. Yet again, no wonder the riots happened because young black boys, young working class, underclass men, and even women, they felt really, really annoyed by the humiliation and intimidation that they have to receive every day by the cops. Not even by TSG, but just by bobbies on the beat, where as me as a white middle class man doesn't really receive that. I suppose when we come here, we kind of experience that, and it kind of brings some form of solidarity where we start to understand what they have to experience on a daily basis.
I mean, a whole number of attitudes, including things that Cameron now comes out with, would have been unthinkable in the 60s. I mean, the idea that he should support gay marriage would have been absolutely unthinkable. And that is, in my view, a direct result of the intervention of the so-called protest movement in the 60s, and how it's saying enough of this rubbish about all the inequalities.
Well, I want a egalitarian world where capitalism isn't everything. People, I'm not always sure they do know what they want, but they definitely want change, and it's definitely for something that is more fair. Yeah.